Hi, welcome back to Frazzle Dad's Minis. I'm Jim, Frazzle Dad. Today I'm going to be talking about paintbrushes. And I'm going to be talking about paintbrushes for a mid-level, okay-ish painter, like me. So that's important because how I use brushes, what I use them for, is different than somebody like Vince Venturella or folks who are shooting for golden demons. That's not me. I spend my time this year so far painting minis for games, not display. I do work on display pieces. You've seen me doing that stuff in the past on this channel. By the way, if you're not subscribed, click the button, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. But, I do work on some display things, and I've worked hard at leveling up my skills. So brushes for me need to be very serviceable. I need them to not be fussy. I need them to kind of be performant at that mid-level. So they are a important tool for me. I'm looking at my notebook of stuff I've got written down to talk about. So the brushes are a tool, but if I'm buying top-end brushes, those brushes are far better than my skill level is up to, and they're not going to pull me along. And I've got some of those, and we'll talk about them. Something else that I do want to talk about as well is a hard lesson that I've learned about who I buy tools and paints and other materials from. There are a lot of great content creators out there who know content creation. There are great artists out there who know color theory. And in some case, there are great, paint scientists. I don't know the right term. Buying product from these people comes with a set of risks because they themselves very likely don't know what it takes to actually produce product. That's very different than producing content. So somebody who's great at painting and doing artsy things may not understand all of the problems around supply chain logistics. If you're getting something from Eastern Europe, or if you're having China produce you stuff, they don't understand the business part. They don't understand how to do quality checks as things are getting produced. They don't understand communicating with their customers. Doesn't mean they're bad people, aside from Broken Anvil. You just need to be aware that if you're buying brushes from a Kickstarter from one of your favorite YouTubers, or paints from a company that is just starting up, there's very likely to be some hiccups along the way as those people figure out how to do production business. Okay, so enough all this. Let's just jump right into it, and I'll show you some of the brushes I've got and my thoughts on them. This set, AIEX, is like an $8 for 9 brush synthetic junk brush off of Amazon. They're workhorses. They're not my day-to-day workhorses. They were. I'll talk about the next set in a minute. Everybody needs just a good set of brushes that when you screw them up, when they get old, you don't have to worry about throwing them out. There's a wide range here, so there's some big brushes. I think this number 6 is the largest, and you can look at the tips. They're not the greatest, but again, these are meant to roughly get paint on the mini, maybe do a little blending with it. These are just material movers. Paint from wet palette to mini. And they're solid for that. Again, $8. That's a fine deal. So this next set of brushes is actually one that was recommended by Vince Venturella. Thank you, Vince. These are like $9 for a set of 9 or 10. I'll put a link in, or better yet, go to Vince's YouTube channel and look at his affiliate link, because you can give him a little bit of money because of the great recommendation. Anyway, these go up to like all the way to a size 12, huge brushes. And they're made really well. So what I ordered on Amazon and the name that was stamped on the actual brush when I got it, two different things. Regardless, these are by far my everyday workhorses. I don't use the smaller, finer brushes, but like the number 2 up to like 10, I use them all the time. And these give me even better control of getting paint on minis. I can even do some small detail work because the tips hold together so well. And also they clean up really well. So, when I get paint smashed down on the ferrule, bad me, or clogged up in the body, I use my regular paint cleaner, give them a good scrub, rinse them off really well, and boom, Bob's your uncle. These things take a beating. I think kindly of them when I use them. They make it easy to get great base coat and even a little more detail work done. Highly, highly recommend these folks, brushes. You know what I mean. Now we're getting into my mid-range brushes, and these I use less for getting paint from the palette to the mini, meaning like slapping on base coats or whatever. I tend to use these for kind of moderate blending, some detail work. So there's a green stuff world there. It's fine. It's nothing great. The one from Monument is freaking awesome. And I've got another Monument brush that I'll show later. But I've had 3 different variants of brushes from Monument. And like their Pro Acryl paints, holy crap, they make great stuff. I've also got a couple of Princeton watercolor brushes. I have no idea where I got them, how I got them, when I got them. Those are really solid, and I like using them. They're great for moving paint around, but as you can see, the tips are really pretty solid, and yeah, they work great. So out of all of these, the green stuff world, I don't do much with. You might notice I've actually chopped part of the tip off, that it didn't hold its shape very well. But it's a good slot brush. The Monument and the Princeton, big thumbs up for me. I want to call out this brush separately. This is a number 6, but I got it maybe 6 months ago, so middle to late 2025. And I think they changed their manufacturing progress. The other Monument brushes that I had longer ago were great. This one is freaking terrific. I use this all the time, and I really, really like it. I can get great detail. Look at that freaking tip on that number 6 brush. This one's awesome. So, more of a shout out to Monument. Here's a couple somewhat specialty brushes. These are both flat brushes. They're both from Princeton, but they're 2 different models. The brown one in the front is a fairly soft brush, and I use this all the time when I need to get a lot of paint on a mini. It's great for doing larger areas. The one in the back with the gray bristles is a stiffer bristle, and I use that one occasionally for dry brushing, where having a flat dry brush is more helpful. I have no idea why that painter's tape is on the brush, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, I use these regularly, and they're a great tool. Here's the first brush that I really don't like. It's a Da Vinci 943. It turns out it's a travel brush. I didn't understand that when I bought it. You can see it's tiny. I have big, gangly, non-delicate, non-coordinated meat hook booger picker hands. A little brush like this didn't work well for me. As a matter of fact, I got so angry that I taped it onto a pencil, and I still don't use it. I probably just need to throw it out. Anyway, for me, my hands, and the type of painting I do, this one, epic fail. Okay, now time for 3 of what are probably my favorite brushes, even if I don't use them all that much. These are Rosemary & Company, specifically the Billy Shoal line of brushes. Look at the glorious tips on these. I use these specifically for freehand, and they're absolutely incredible. In this case, the tools absolutely upped my game for freehand. The tip is just the right amount of flexibility. So you can see how long those tips are. The tip is soft, it's flexible, but it's not floppy. So I can get just the right amount of bend on it. They hold a decent amount of paint, so I'm not having to go back and forth, back and forth. They hold just the right amount of moisture in the tip so that when I load the brush, I'm getting consistent expected results. These are, I think, without a doubt, the brushes that elevated my game more than any other. And I don't do a lot of freehand, so I don't pull them out all that often. But when I do, oh boy, howdy, do I love them a whole lot. Like everybody else, I've got a couple drink mugs on my desk with odds and ends brushes thrown in there. This first one, the one on the right, is odds and ends, and it's mostly used for the very few times that I do oil paints. I just have a few brushes in here so I don't have to worry too much about cleaning when I bounce between the occasional oil job back to acrylics. I just have a few brushes in here that I need. The second set is mostly my dry brushes and similar, or just my big flats as well. So I do have a few different types of dry brushes I use. In this picture, the bottom few are just cheap makeup brushes that I got at the local drugstore. They're very soft. They're nice. They were dirt cheap. They work really well, and I got nice sizes. The ones on the top are from Rosemary and Company. They're a little more expensive, not terribly, and the tips are actually very stiff. So these work really well for me when I'm trying to get a really aggressive slap chop and really kind of scrub hard across things. The bigger ones are beautiful, awesome, fantastico when I'm doing terrain dry brushing. Good dry brushes are a critical part of the hobby, but you don't have to go crazy. Makeup brushes will work, or, get something a little fancier. I personally would not drop the money on Artis Opus or some of the other insanely priced influencer brushes. I don't think you see a lot of regular Joes and Janes buying those types of dry brushes. If that's you, more power to you, honest. Here is my skanky, nasty, gap-toothed, cheesy-ass, lousy brush that I use all the frickin' time. As you can see, it's like an old Dungeons and Dragons brush. I don't know when I got this, but I use this thing for working with, for example, earth terrain. I'll use it for glue. I'll use it for all kinds of other stuff. And this awesome little buddy keeps coming back for more. I will occasionally give it a good scrub with dish soap and hot water. I may have soaked it in isopropyl alcohol, IPA, once. This may be the brush that I've had the longest out of all of my collection, and I use it all the time. Bless your heart, little buddy. I love you. Okay, so now we're getting to the fancy brushes. These are Kolinsky Sables, and these are also a disappointment for me personally. This is the set from Squidmar. I want to be very clear, I don't have anything personal against the gang at Squidmar, but when I got these brushes, I had a whole lot of trouble with splitting ends and poor quality and drama. I actually had a friend who's in the Squidmar server open up a conversation with some of the Squidmar folks. They wouldn't even reach out to me directly. There was a lot of back and forth. They admitted that they were having some quality struggles and that maybe the brushes hadn't been inspected. I didn't get any kind of an offer of replacement or any advice other than literally wash the brush after every single stroke. I have friends who really love their Squidmar brushes. I'm happy for Squidmar, but folks like this are why I advise some caution when you're buying from creators or artists instead of companies who know how to handle business around production and physical items. That said, I do use The medium, the large, and the extra large, on occasion, they work pretty well. But the smaller brushes are so badly split. Frankly, I just need to throw them away, and I'm probably going to do that after this video. They just take up space on my paint rack, and yeah. So these are a disappointment. I wish they weren't. I know other people like them. They're not great for me. Whew. Artis Opus. Favorite of a whole bunch of influencers who get them for free. These are really expensive. I bought them after I'd been painting maybe 2 years. I held off because I wanted to make sure that I was serious. I paid, I don't know, $150 for this set. The set's great, but my skill level isn't up to using these to their max. I don't get mad when I paint with them. They're nice. The tips are sharp and great. I have better luck freehanding with those Billy Scholl from Rosemary & Company. So these stay in their case in my desk until the rare occasion where I happen to remember them, pull them out, use them, have an okay time, then kind of shrug, clean them, and put them back in the case. If you have great luck with Artis Opus, more power to you. Seriously, I'm happy for you. For me, these were not a great expense, and I could have used that $150 on brisket or dog treats. Okay, so here finally at the end is my workhorse when I'm trying to do detail, glazing, careful blending. This is a Da Vinci, and I think it's a 1526 if I'm looking there. This is a sable brush. I think it's a number 2. I've kind of worn the handle off. This brush brings me joy, and I use it for 90% of my fine work. The tip holds up really well. It carries the right amount of moisture after I've rinsed and dunked in clean water. I don't have to worry about it going crazy. The barrel loads up nicely, and I can get a really fine tip on this. I find for the most part, at least on kind of 32 millimeter minis and above, when I'm painting eyes, at least getting the initial like white and base color down, I don't need to go down to a finer brush. I use this in my googly nerd glasses eyes. Point being, I love this brush. I've got a couple of them on my rack. They bring me joy. They're easy to work with. They're easy to maintain. I think this was maybe 20-ish bucks, and holy bleep, have I gotten my money's worth out of it. This one, huge thumbs up from me. There you have it. I appreciate you watching along. If you haven't yet, I'd sure love it if you'd subscribe to me. Give me a thumbs up for the video if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Let me know what some of your favorite brushes are, because I'd honestly love to hear it. Again, keep this video framed in the context that this is about me, a mid-level painter. I have different needs than other people. But, I've figured out what works for me, and I'm pretty happy with how I'm using the brushes that I've got right now. Until next time, be kind, especially to yourself, because you deserve it. Try things, experiment, learn stuff, fail, pick yourself back up. It's okay. Remember, at the end of the day, it's just paint and plastic. Bye, y'all.